I will. Oh, okay. I will just start us off. My name's Rebecca Rosenberg. I am the founder and CEO of ReBokeh, and I'm really excited to tell you what we're talking about today. Give me 2 seconds to start sharing my screen here. Okay. Is this pretty viewable to everybody? Can we see what's here? Move all my boxes around.
Yes, I can see it.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. So I'll do some describing of what's on the screen for those who maybe cannot see it quite as well. But this is ReBokeh. This is our company logo. It's white text. It says ReBokeh, and then there are what are called bokeh balls that are part of our logo at the end of the word, and they're yellow, green, and blue, and they all kind of overlap with one another a little bit. So to start off with some brief background, my name's Rebecca Rosenberg. As I mentioned, I am the founder and chief executive officer of ReBokeh. And my background is in actually biomedical engineering. I got my bachelor's degree at Bucknell, if anybody is familiar with Bucknell, and my master's degree from the Center for Bioengineering Innovation and Design at Johns Hopkins. And so I've spent most of my career to this point thinking about health technology, medical technology, and working toward providing solutions that actually solve problems for people instead of just solutions that might seem kind of cool. And I got into this because I have a vision impairment myself as a result of albinism. This is me as a small child, and you can kind of see just how close my face needs to be to the workbook that I'm writing in order for me to see what's going on. I am 25 years old, and I say that I still have to do this. I still struggle to read the menu boards at restaurants, or to read small text, or even to look at my phone. I also am not wearing any glasses, and the reason for that is because my vision impairment, as you're probably all well familiar, is not correctable. And so glasses, LASIK, there's nothing that they can really do to significantly improve my vision. And I'll run through this part relatively quickly because I can tell that I'm speaking to the choir here in terms of knowing that this is a really big population of people. More than 25 million Americans have this type of moderate, but also uncorrectable vision impairment. And that stems from a lot of different diseases that often lead people to be in this category, like diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, albinism, RP. And to jump into just what that means a little bit deeper, and like I said, I'll go through this kind of fast because I think I'm preaching to the choir here. You know, vision impairment is a spectrum, and on one side, there are those with perfect 20/20 vision, and on the other side, total blindness. Those of us in the middle who are visually impaired are in the middle of this spectrum. If you're relatively close to the right side on the effectively perfect vision, generally you just need glasses or LASIK surgery to get you back up to effectively perfect vision. And if you're on the total opposite side of the spectrum, if you're very near blind, devices like these, the CCTV or the iris vision, can usually aid individuals to regain some amount of independence. But what I found growing up was that for those of us in the middle, things were a whole lot more complicated. The technologies on the right, like the glasses, really just didn't do enough. But the technologies on the left, like the CCTV, were really expensive, were difficult to learn to use, and they overall just weren't designed to help enhance the existing vision that people like myself do have. Instead, they were aimed at totally replacing vision, defaulting to things like audio, which is obviously very important for a certain group, but really wasn't appropriate for people like myself in this sort of middle part of the vision impairment spectrum. And so that's where ReBokeh has really begun to create our technology. And we've done that starting with the ReBokeh app. It's a patent pending system that uses advanced image processing as well as artificial intelligence to create personalized and optimal vision assistance experiences for every individual user. And so what that means, and I will do a demo in a little bit so that this makes more sense. But what this effectively means is that you are using your smartphone as both a digital magnifier and also a distance viewing device that has a significantly better camera resolution, a significantly better screen resolution, and is significantly easier to learn how to use than those other devices. And we've seen a lot of really good uptake on this so far. And we've also been featured in some pretty big publications like BBC News and Forbes, and also TechCrunch, if you're familiar with the more techie side. To date, we have users in more than 105 different countries all around the world, and those users have made more than 200,000 different vision adjustments using the ReBokeh app. And we're really excited to see that. The technology has only been out about 16 months now. I think we launched in June of 2022. And so we're really excited by the uptake that we've seen. And more people continue to find out about us and to kind of switch over to the ReBokeh app from some less powerful low vision magnifier type apps. And we work with many of the organizations that you see here, and they're supporting us in one way or another. Without further ado, let's see what this does. So there's a QR code on the screen. If you want to scan the QR code, ReBokeh is a free download. There are in-app purchases, but it's free to download and use the basic version. If you want to follow along with the demo, I will just sit on this slide for a minute and give you a chance to scan this QR code and to pull up the app. There's a little bit of an onboarding kind of that has to happen to get you made an account so that we can so that you can get the app set up effectively. And then we will jump into a little bit of a demo. But I will just hold here for a moment. It seems like I've missed a couple of chats, so I'm going to look at a couple chats while we leave the QR code up here for a second. When you are good with the QR code and you don't need it anymore, do you want to give me a thumbs up in kind of the Zoom function? Ah, yes, I see a Go Bucknell Bisons. I love that. Thank you. Completely agree. Yes, I apologize. I should have mentioned that earlier. ReBokeh is only on iOS at this point in time. If you go to our website, there is a waitlist available for Android users. We are really wanting to bring the technology to Android, and we are looking for people who will help beta test that in the future when that is beginning to be in development. Right now, it works on iPhones, on iPads, and we even have some users who are using it on their iPod Touch, which is really cool. I'm going to keep my eye on the chat here. Awesome. Okay. Do like another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll jump into the demo. Happy Halloween. I didn't say that. I'm trying to remember that it's a holiday today. Okay. Does anybody need more time, either with the QR code or with the working through the ReBokeh onboarding? Feel free to just give me a wave or something if you need more time. No? Okay. Fantastic. So this is going to come off the screen here. Whoops. And if you do need more time or you're still trying to download it, you can find us on the App Store by just searching ReBokeh, ReBokeh. Okay, I'm going to stop this screen share and I'm going to start a different one. We're going to look out my window a little bit here. Sorry, some minor technical difficulties. Okay, fantastic. There we go. So you are currently looking out the window of my apartment complex. And this is the ReBokeh app screen. So you're getting a live camera feed from your device. So there's a whole lot of things that you can do here, and we'll walk through kind of how all of those work. Basically, the first one is that you can just zoom in. So I can take a look at the movie theater that's down here. And you zoom in, instead of using a 2-finger pinch like you're generally used to on your phone, you can actually just use 1 finger and slide up gently from the bottom. And that enables ReBokeh to be used one-handed. What else you can do, so if you kind of look at the whole screen, the settings that are on the bottom left-hand side are all of your image adjustment settings. And so starting from the bottom, we have contrast, which I know everyone kind of knows what contrast means. But basically, it makes your black's more black and your white's more white. And that's obviously a big deal for a lot of people with different types of vision impairments who are contrast sensitive. The next thing we can actually do is increase the exposure. And so if you're maybe in a dimly lit restaurant and the menu is difficult to read, but you don't want to necessarily turn your flash on and like blast that in a bright restaurant or a dark restaurant, you can use exposure to make everything just a little bit brighter without having to actually turn on your flash and physically make the space brighter. The next one up is one of the more unique features of ReBokeh. This is actually color filters. And so this was inspired by the color transparencies that I was given as a child. I really liked reading with a yellow overlay on top of it. It just made it easier on my eyes. It made everything crisper and clearer. I really liked it. And so basically what we've done here is recreate that digitally. And so we can adjust, we can pick the color filter that we want, and then we can also actually remove or add some of the color with the second slider here. So if you want less or more greenish yellow, you can have that. And then lastly, I'll show you the complete invert option. And so this just totally inverts everything. We have a lot of students who use this if they are trying to look at a document that is maybe black text on a white background and they want the opposite of that. This is the same kind of invert that you would expect to see. And then this button on the bottom right-hand side in the middle here is basically revert. And so that will take all of the settings off of the ReBokeh app so that you can kind of start fresh if you're in a new scenario or a new situation and want to do something differently. The other thing we can actually do here is with the pause button, which is the top button on the bottom right-hand side, we'll pause the image. So now I can kind of move my phone around and I can still actually zoom in and I can still make all of the different adjustments that I was making before. And this is really good in situations where you maybe want to like look at a menu and you don't want to have to hold your phone up and balance it and play with all the settings. You can just pause on that menu and then you can make the adjustments you need. It also doesn't save anything to your camera roll automatically. And so it's not like using your regular camera to like go in and then you end up with a whole bunch of pictures of random things in your camera roll. That was something we heard about a lot from our beta testers really early on in the development of ReBokeh, was that was a really big feature. So then if you hit play, you just go back to kind of the main screen. The other really cool thing is that you can save presets. And so these are combinations of settings that you can then call back up later. And so you can see this added contrast back, and it was a designated amount of contrast that I had set previously to work well for me in a given environment. With the basic version of ReBokeh, you can save 1 of these, and with the pro version, you can save up to 3. You can also do all of this with your front-facing camera. So this is me in very high contrast. And you can still make all of the same adjustments you're used to being able to make on that front camera. I have used this a lot to like do my makeup in hotel rooms when I can't get close enough to a mirror. What you can also actually do is, if you do want to use the flash for some reason, that is available, and you can actually decide how much flash you want to use. I know you can't exactly see it at the moment, but the flash on my device is actually on. And then you can decide exactly how much of that you want. I fostered a black cat for a little while, and she liked to hide under my bed. And I could never tell if she was under there because under the bed was obviously very dark and she was black. And so I would use the flash capability to like light up her eyes so that I could find her, whether or not she was under there. So these are sort of the main features of the ReBokeh app. What I'll show you now is actually the upgraded version. And so if we upgrade for, it's just $3 a month to the paid version. Give me 1 second here. Gotta kind of do this. And you won't have to do this every single time, but I am working with the development version of the app. And so because of that, I have to kind of go in here and redo this every time. But I can show you some of the options that pop up when you do use the Pro version. So in the Pro version, I think one of my favorite features is actually the ability to upload photos. So you can upload a photo. This is my airborne that I was taking last night. It's just obviously a medicine bottle. And I can use ReBokeh to make some of these bits of text that were maybe otherwise too small a whole lot easier for me to read. And then if this works out really well for me and I want to keep this for some reason, now I actually do have the option to go and download the photo. This also unlocks significantly more options for inversion. So people who like blue on yellow, that's now available. Grayscale is available. Yellow on black is available. And all of those options, as well as you can now actually save up to 3 presets. So that is a pretty basic overview of the functionalities of the ReBokeh app. There's actually also a capability that would allow you to make the buttons bigger or smaller. I think I have them on kind of a medium setting right now, but they could be smaller or they could be larger for somebody who maybe has some mobility challenges. And that is sort of a high-level overview of the ReBokeh app. Let me stop sharing here. Where am I? Oh, here's my stop sharing option. Okay. So happy to kind of pause there and take any questions that you have, and then we'll go through some use cases that we've seen from our users and from our testers. Any questions before we jump into that? No? If you don't want to speak up, also feel free to put them in the chat. Naomi, if you would like to monitor the chat once I get back to screen sharing, I can't actually see it. But any questions, feel free to also interrupt me or put them in the chat. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so just walking through some use cases. This was a situation that I actually personally experienced for a menu at a real restaurant. I don't know whose idea it was to put those horrible red boxes in the background, but by adding some red color through the ReBokeh app, we were able to cancel them out and make the menu a whole lot more readable. I like to say that so long as there is poor graphic design, there will be need for the ReBokeh app. In this situation, we were able to enable safe and discrete navigation in a place where the user was here for the very first time. They didn't actually know where they were supposed to go to get on the train. And normally, being a low vision person, they'd have to kind of walk around with all of their bags and kind of draw attention to themselves and look sort of lost in order to get close enough to the signage they needed to see. In this situation, they were able to use ReBokeh to sit back with all of their bags and just use their device to zoom in on the signs and figure out where they were supposed to go. In these couple of situations, we enabled this user to actually follow along with a sporting event from a high up seat. And so you can see here we're zooming in, and all of a sudden the ball becomes a whole lot more viewable, especially once we add some contrast. There are a whole lot more contrast and detail to this scene, and we're able to really zoom in quite far to see what's going on here and to actually follow along, whereas otherwise the ball would just kind of have been invisible. And I'll just skip forward in here a little bit because there are some other filters like black and white that we apply in the future that can enable just somebody with a specific type of vision impairment to see this best. And we can also do sort of this nice monochrome. Similar kind of a thing here where the dancers they look good from far away, but they look a whole lot better from close up when you can actually see what they're doing and appreciate how well they are in sync with one another. Whoops. There we go. This is actually an image that one of our beta testers actually sent us, where you can see the ReBokeh app kind of in use on an iPad that's propped up so that this user can follow along with their orchestra conductor. So this is obviously a situation where real time is really critical, because if you're not getting the conductor information in real time, you're probably going to be off from the rest of the orchestra. And so this I just thought was such a cool and smart use case for the ReBokeh app that this person kind of came up with. This is another situation that was shared with us by one of our users where he plays Dungeons and Dragons. And if I understand the game correctly, there's some things that happen sort of far away on like the game board, and there are like cards that you have to hold in your hand. And so you're constantly switching back and forth between close-up and distance vision. And without something like the ReBokeh app, he would have needed to switch back and forth between multiple tools in order to see far away and then see close up. But with ReBokeh, it was really 0 extra tools because he had his phone anyway. And I think this is our last one. But we actually have a user who is a student and who uses the ReBokeh app to follow along in her American Sign Language class, which I also just think is so interesting and so clever and so wonderful, because this is a student who has a vision impairment and otherwise wouldn't have been able to take a class like this, because she wouldn't have been able to see the professor make those detailed hand movements that make up American Sign Language. And so this is just another really, really cool use case that our users have come up with over time. And that is sort of the end of my presentation here. I see a chat. Do you have any users who are also using VoiceOver? Yes, we do. ReBokeh is, as you can kind of see, more meant for people who have a lot of good usable vision and are trying to enhance that. With that said, we have seen that, if you think about the middle part of that spectrum, our user base has expanded well beyond that to people who maybe just have regular age-related vision loss and are using it to like go that extra mile with their vision. And we have people who are really very near blind who will use ReBokeh for specific tasks like looking at the microwave or very specific things. And because of that, and because we want to, enforce that accessibility, it does work with VoiceOver. Everything in ReBokeh works with VoiceOver. And we do have users who use VoiceOver in the app. With that, you're welcome to, take a picture of my contact information, of the website. I'm also happy to have Naomi share that out with everybody who's here in case there are questions. I did see some people who may actually be interested in this option, and so I will just very briefly share that we are actually also working on starting some pilot programs with enterprise partners. And so that would basically look like, instead of an individual needing to pay for the plus version of ReBokeh, we work with institutions and we build a geofence around your space and allow anybody who is within that space to make use of the full features of ReBokeh totally for free to them. And so if you're interested in being a pilot partner with us on that, we're looking for 1 or 2 more. And please feel free to reach out to me. That's something that we are very imminently deploying. And so I'm really excited about that opportunity, working with universities, with museums, with kind of public transit administrations. And we're super excited about that option to kind of take the cost burden off of the individual. I'm seeing some more questions jump in. Curious how you came up with the name of the app. That is a great question. So bokeh is actually a photography term, and it's those blurry balls of light you get in the background of an image when the background is out of focus. And so ReBokeh is meant to be a re-clarifying of what is out of focus. I was a little bit of a photography nerd before I started this company, and so I think that has snuck its way in here in a couple of different ways. What's the cost of the full version? So if you are an individual, we are subsidizing the cost a little bit. And so it's $3 a month to subscribe to the Plus, which right now is the full version of ReBokeh, or like $28 a year. We wanted to keep that really low cost for individuals. And the reason it's a subscription over kind of a one-time payment is that we're continuing to make updates to this. We're continuing to make improvements, bug fixes, all of those things. And so it's a subscription to kind of keep on top of that. And as we choose to add more things to the plus version, they kind of get grandfathered in. So that's why it's a subscription over kind of like a one-time flat fee. Clever, always more to learn, a new term. Yes, I think that I may be single-handedly responsible for like the general public knowing what bokeh is, which is very funny to me. But any other questions? Feel free to just, call them out. Or if you want to put them in the chat, you're welcome to do that too. And I will, just for the sake of ease of copying and pasting, we'll put my email here in the chat. This is my email. It's just Rebecca@ReBokeh. It's relatively easy. Just to clarify, you can get started without paying for a subscription. Yes, that's correct. There is a free version that is totally free, that will always be free. And if you want to try out the plus version, there is a 2-week free trial. You do sign up and then you get your 2-week free trial. If you cancel before that's over, then you don't ever get charged. But if you don't want to pay anything ever, you don't care about the plus version and you just want to use the basic features, that is totally free. Okay. Any other questions? Looks like no.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Learned a lot.
Absolutely. Oh, I got another comment. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your attention. This has been a great group. And yeah, please feel free to reach out, and happy to chat about ReBokeh, happy to chat about sort of our enterprise option. We're excited about getting that kind of up and going. And yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate everybody's time. Awesome. Have a good rest of your day. Happy Halloween.
Thank you. Happy Halloween, everyone.